Projections show that by 2034, for the first time ever, there will be more people in the U.S. and New Jersey over the age of 65 than under the age of 18. So how can we prepare and create communities that meet the needs of all residents at all ages? Join us as we talk to NJ Future about creating great places to age. Hello and welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Kathy Rowe, Executive Director of New Jersey Advocates for Aging Well. And today I'd like to welcome my guests, Garcia and Tanya Rohrbach from New Jersey Future to talk about creating great places to age. So welcome to both of you. I'm glad to have you here. And tell us first, what about New Jersey Future? What do you do?
So New Jersey Future is a nonprofit, non-government organization. It was founded back in 1987 to advocate for state planning and policy to create better communities across the state of New Jersey and for improving environmental and social sustainability as well. More recently, around the early 2000s, New Jersey Future also began working locally. So we also work with communities to help them plan for and implement changes that will make their communities more livable.
Okay. And one of your priority areas is creating great places to age, which is, of course, making them more livable. So what is it that makes a place a great place to live in as we age? And what do you see that people want and need as they age and as our population shifts from a younger population to an older population?
Well, as we age, our needs and our priorities change, and the way that we live our lives changes as we get older. For example, we may work outside the home less often or not work at all in retirement. We may be driving less or not drive a vehicle at all as we get older. Everyday things like shopping and going to appointments and maintaining the home and the property, all of those things, we might have to do them a little bit differently as we get older. And sometimes there are challenges to doing those things as we age. So that's not to say that there is, a problem with aging. That's a natural process, but there could be a problem with the design of the community.
Okay.
What makes a great place to age is when the community is thinking about those things and having those considerations. So in terms of a great place to age at the local level, that would be when the local government is thinking about things like the types of housing that's permitted in the community, where the new homes and businesses are going to be put in the community, street designs in terms of sidewalks and crosswalks, any kind of infrastructure investments and transportation particularly. So that great place to age has those considerations. People are thinking about it. It's in the local government. But also there's implementation of solutions and designs to address those issues. And that is happening all within the context of public engagement, right? So a great place to age is also going to have that public forum for participation in the decision-making process as well. So from our perspective, it's really about sort of the community design and people being involved in the decision-making of that.
And I realize we've already used the term community a lot, and I just, there's a range of communities in New Jersey. So for some areas like Northern Jersey, that might be the municipality and the town. In other areas, it's the county level. There's a wide range by what we mean by community, right? And they're not all the same. I'm guessing they're not all run the same either.
Absolutely. So we think of community in terms of the work that we do as at the local level in the municipality, because that's where land use changes are decided. In New Jersey, we are a home rule state, and New Jersey Future is a land use organization. So at New Jersey Future, we care about we think the way that we use land and the way that we develop our communities and our neighborhoods affects the quality of life for everyone. So we work to instill good policies and regulations at the state and local level, right? So community is where those local decisions are made, and for us to make sure those changes are being implemented at a community scale for the entire area, that happens at the municipal level.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that non-residents don't use that community and there aren't interactions and partners around that.
Right, they might shop there or work there or go to doctor's appointments there.
Exactly.
All right. So I know that according to surveys, most people they say they want to stay in their communities as they get older. And why do you think that is? You know, we could all go and move to a warmer place, right? So what is the appeal, and why do people want to stay in their community instead of moving, do you think?
Yeah, so a few reasons why people might want to stay in their communities longer is the sense of belonging and their social connections that they've built over their time living there. So after many years in a community, you've got a network of friends and family, and it's that sense of community that it can be really hard to leave.
Right.
So people also have a sense of cohesion and comfort from maybe going to their favorite restaurant or seeing their neighbor at a local park or grocery store, and leaving those memories to go to some place where you don't have those experiences can sever those social connections that we know are really critical to the mental health and the well-being of older adults.
Yeah. We've been talking much more about social connections, especially since COVID, and the impact it can have on not just your mental health, but your physical health too.
Right, yeah. So as people grow older, they tend to be more reliant on their communities and their families, and when they're transplanting to new regions and new places where they don't know how to find the support, or maybe it's harder for them to build those social connections, that can lead to social isolation, and that could potentially lead to folks being more lonely than they would have been naturally if they had stayed in their previous communities.
So what are some of the needs that people have as they age to stay in their community, and how do their needs change as they get older? You know, when a lot of people, when they buy their first house, they're buying it for the schools, and they have kids that need so many bedrooms, but you know, what are the changes and what might be different as they age?
A major indicator of living a long and healthy life is whether someone has a good, strong social and network support system. So it's not enough for us to think of an aging in place model where someone could stay living in the same home for a very long time, but then increasingly become disconnected from their community, right? So there also might be reasons where that particular home is no longer suitable for that person to continue living in the home because of mobility challenges or cost and maintenance of the home. Also, there are renters who may not be able to have that choice and option to stay living in a particular home for as they age throughout the communities. So, you know, a major need for people to be able to age in their communities is to have an appropriate place to live. So that's why it's very important to have a diversity of housing types in the community and affordable homes and living options for those different stages in one's life, right? So as we age, many of us, at least at some point, will be on a fixed income. We're living longer, so we're going to need these types of options and homes to transition into as we age over time. And also, as Evan was pointing out, you know, that greater risk for poor health outcomes and social isolation. We need to also have a mobility in the community, right? So that translates into walkability and being close to destinations and facilities and services and amenities, being able to get out and about, also access to public transportation. So I think that two of the biggest needs as people age for what they would need in their community would be housing and transportation, whether that be through pedestrian outlets or public transportation as well.
Okay. So I guess when people have bought their first home, and a lot of where I live, it's, you know, colonial steps to get into a house, and there are 2 floors in the basement. Those are things that, while your community you want to stay in, the actual building you're living in changes. Or what worked when you were younger, if you have mobility issues or other, you know, income constraints, might not be where you want to stay, but you want to stay within that same community.
Exactly, yes. So, you know, people, as Evan was saying, are connected to their communities very often. Maybe the family is in the area, but, you know, we shouldn't have to move away from everything we know and love just because we can't find a place to live in that area. So we have a housing shortage, and when we go to fill that gap, we should be considering the needs of an aging population. So the types of housing that are more appropriate, the location of where those homes are relative to the types of resources that people will need to interact with, but also opportunities for social engagement, right? So that could be through planned programming, or that could just be chance encounters, right? Bumping into somebody on the street. But in order to have that opportunity, we need to have the space for that, right? So our public environment and our built spaces need to be designed so that people can have those kinds of experiences and lives, and we can remain, active physically and socially in our communities.
So when we talk about creating great places to age, we're not just saying building something new or building something that's just for older adults. We're talking about making changes or improvements to the whole community in which we live. So can you give us some examples of what some New Jersey towns have done or are doing now or planning to do?
Yeah, so certainly in Metuchen, the Woodmont Metro development is a housing development and a great example of building and expanding upon existing infrastructure that really helps engage the community and build elements of walkability. So what they did was they built a housing complex, and this was in close proximity to their train station, but accompanying that was a public plaza and streetscape improvements that reorient the space around pedestrians, and they make it more friendly and inviting. And also this is a place where they can host events on a regular basis.
Oh, nice.
So these units, while they may be more affordable, they may be smaller and cheaper, easier to maintain and upkeep in this, what is a traditionally single-family community. So that those units might be spaces where they could stay in their community and be close to the people and the friends that they know, but also have the ability to have more mobility options, and which can reduce their vehicle miles traveled and reduce their reliance on a personal vehicle.
It sounds like fun too, like a well-designed fun place to live.
That's right.
So we've said a couple of times, talk about walkable communities and walkability. So why are walkable communities desirable compared to driving? I think when we first met, that was one of the first things I learned from you about the driving-based community and the walking-based community.
Yeah, so a lot of our communities are designed for the vehicle. So they're built with very wide roads for vehicles to get from point A to point B very quickly and easily. And this is not safe for pedestrians. It's not conducive to people using their feet as a form of transportation or riding a bicycle for people of all ages. So our communities are designed for cars instead of people.
Okay.
And I'd like to provide some data on that's reflecting that shift. So data from the Insurance Information Institute showed that in 1997, 43% of 16-year-olds had their driver's licenses, and by 2020 that number had decreased to 25%.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's a significant change, and that's also a change that we're seeing across other demographics as well. So data from the National Household Travel Survey has shown that adults over the age of 65 are taking less vehicle trips than they did in previous decades. So, which raises the important question, are our cities keeping up with this demand for alternative mobility options?
Right.
So we need to build more walkable, bicycle, pedestrian-friendly spaces, invest in transportation alternatives, and these can have a marketed boost on physical health by adding more places to get out and about on, using your feet and mobility. And it can also improve the mental health and well-being of the community as well by adding, like Tanya said, more places for chance encounters with other residents. So in communities that were designed to be car-centric, researchers have come out with a new term they're calling community severance, and it's where the amount of traffic on the road provides the literal barrier to people actually going out and walking to and from destinations, interacting with each other. So these barriers can present a significant, hindrance on folks of all ages and all abilities. So we know that personal vehicles can be very expensive to the individual and the community.
Right.
And so dictating or designing our communities around one form of mobility option really provides or doesn't provide the resources we need. So.
And it's interesting what you said about driving, because I remember when I was a teenager getting my license I loved it. I used to bike everywhere, got my license, that was it. I have teenage kids and their friends aren't getting their driver's license like they used to. It's not important. They're going off to college without it. So it's not just for older people. I see in younger people in all ages, people don't have that same reliance on the car anymore that they used to. So I think this is a good sign that, we're ready for changes. And we take that as we're ready to give up the car a little bit and we're ready to build our communities to be more walkable.
I think so. I think that what we've learned working with communities on these issues is that what is better designed for people that are older and aging is also better designed for all ages, and particularly younger people too. So there's a lot more interest in having experiences, right? Engaging, going out to eat and walking in a downtown and shopping. So those are the kinds of things that young people are looking to do these days as well as older people. And that's a good thing because that will get us, talking to each other more and also, help our downtown economies. So it really is better for the community as a whole to have these design features that serve both the younger population and the older population. And that's true for housing as well too. So, those that shortage of housing and the different types of housing and smaller units for affordability and close to destinations, that's something that younger generation that's just kind of getting into their careers, that's what they're looking for as well. So we see this need overlapping generations.
I see in up where I am in Maplewood and South Orange, there's a lot of construction along the train lines coming out of New York and apartment buildings near the train stations for younger commuters, and they're actually filling up with people who have sold their house and want to downsize. So there's a great mix of very young people new in their career and retirees who are just wanted easier, they want services, they don't want to drive, and they don't want to mow the lawn and do the upkeep anymore. So there is this great balance of who's moving into these new spaces, and it's all built around like a walkable, non-car community.
Yeah, that's great to see. And the other component of that is making sure that housing is affordable, right? Because it may not be affordable to everyone who wants or needs to downsize. And as we age and we transition into different living situations, that's going to look different for everyone, right? And it's going to change over time through our lifetimes as we age. So having those different kinds of housing at different price points and with affordable housing is really important for meeting everyone's needs.
Good. So how can people work to make these changes, like to bring about change in their town or in their community? What are the best ways that they can start advocating for these changes?
Yeah, anyone can play a role in creating a great place to age. A really good way to get started is to engage in local government. So attending the public meetings of the town council or town committee, your governing body, and the planning board. So those meetings are public and in person. If you aren't able to go in person, they might be online. And if they're not available online, that would be a great place to start advocating, right? Advocating for those public meetings to be put online, because getting involved in the decision-making process at the local government level is really important and key here. Also, the appointed positions on committees and boards at municipalities are volunteer positions typically. So you can volunteer on your local government on a board or committee, and that's a really good way to get involved in the kind of big changes that we want to see around housing and transportation and things like that. And of course, a fantastic way is to get engaged is with community groups. So there are a few community groups that are working on these issues specifically for age-friendly communities, but there's a number of community groups that are doing other kinds of work that intersect with this kind of work. So that would be a great way to get involved, start advocating. But I would say in either case, when you are trying to advocate for these big land use changes to the built environment, it is very important to have the municipality, the local government involved from the very beginning of that process, because that is where that decision making lies.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have that partnership in the beginning when you're advocating. So I would recommend don't think of advocating as sort of fighting as much as sort of trying to partner and make that change together. And New Jersey Future published the Community Guide to Implementing Land Use Decisions. It's available on our website at njfuture.org. And this provides a step-by-step manual for anybody who's interested in doing this kind of work and advocating to go through that process in their community or a community to make it a great place to age.
I actually didn't realize that there were so many opportunities for people to volunteer to get involved with town decisions. So a lot of the decisions like the planning board and the other groups you mentioned, it's not just staff, it's volunteers. So people do have a way to participate, to lend their expertise or their experience from living in the town for a long time and weigh in and help shape the future. I think a lot of people don't realize that those opportunities are there for them. So I've come to know both of you and New Jersey Future through the age-friendly communities, which are growing throughout the state. But you also do something called Sustainable Jersey. And can you tell us a little bit about that, what it entails?
Yeah, absolutely. So using our guide, we help develop an action in the Sustainable Jersey Network, which is a volunteer incentive-based program for completing sustainability actions. So ours is called the Community Design for All Ages Action.
Okay.
And it has 12 components that are all geared towards increasing the livability in your community.
Okay.
So we have a number of actions. One of them is community engagement. Another is a land use assessment. And then we have other actions that are geared towards increasing the diversity of housing options. So in the Sustainable Jersey program, we've developed an action based on our guide to improve the livability of those design features that we were talking about. There's a number of components. There's community engagement, land use assessment, and then other components that are geared towards the municipality introducing more housing options, better mobility options, and we encourage everyone to check out those resources and volunteer and work with your community to help implement those changes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Sustainable Jersey program, Sustainable Jersey is a nonprofit organization, and like Evan said, it's an incentive program for municipalities to take actions.
Okay.
So it is actually the municipality that designates a green team by ordinance to participate in this program and complete these actions.
Right.
And so that's another great way to volunteer and see if your community does have a green team. If not, maybe try to put one together.
Maybe you can start
one.
Yeah,
and get involved in the Sustainable Jersey program because they have a bunch of different actions to pursue, and the Community Design for All Ages action is in the land use and transportation category because it is about the municipality really making effort to change some of these bigger land use built environment issues.
Okay.
Yep, and you can go to their website, the Sustainable Jersey website, I believe it's sustainablejersey.org, and find that action on their website.
Okay, so that's just another way that people can get involved and start making the change that they want to see in their community.
Absolutely.
And with the goal of helping people to stay in their community. So I want to thank you both for joining us today, and I really hope that some of our viewers will learn from this and take the opportunity to get involved in their town, join a committee, make change. It can help bring about more livable and more age-friendly places to live. I want to thank our guests for joining us today. Aging Insights is brought to you by our funders, supporters, and viewers like you. You can watch this and past episodes of Aging Insights on YouTube or through our website, njaaw.org, on the Aging Insights tab. You can also listen to us to wherever you find your favorite podcasts. For an extensive list of resources for older adults, visit our website, njaaw.org, on the Resources and Services tab.